Hey guys, Keaton here with TechSmart, and today we're doing one of my favorite comparisons of all time to date. It is the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 versus iPhone 6 Plus. And for starters here, this is one of my favorite comparisons for a few reasons. The Galaxy Note 3 was a 5.7-inch display, and the iPhone 5S was a 4-inch display. The iPhone 6 Plus is a 5.5-inch display, and the Galaxy Note 4 is again a 5.7-inch display. This is a lot more comparable now, and I'm boiling with excitement. So without further delay, let's go ahead and get comparing. In terms of hardware on the Galaxy Note 4 and on the front, there's a 5.7-inch Quad HD display, a 3.7 megapixel front-facing camera, a home button which also acts as a fingerprint scanner, and two capacitive buttons which are for menu and going backwards. To the right of the device is our sleep-wake switch, and to the left is our volume rocker. Now at the top there's a 3.5mm headphone jack and an IR blaster. Now at the bottom, these are where things kind of get a little bit funky. So Samsung includes a USB 2.0 port on there via micro USB. And I just find it interesting because the Galaxy Note 3 included USB 3.0, so that's just really interesting. And on the back of the device is a 16 megapixel camera with flash and our heart rate monitor. Now moving over to the iPhone 6 Plus's hardware, on the front there's a 5.5-inch 1080p display, a front-facing camera, a home button which also acts as Touch ID, which means it's a fingerprint scanner. Now to the right of the device, and probably the first for any new iPhone, is our sleep-wake button and the SIM card slot depending on the unit. Now to the left is our mute switch and volume rocker. Now at the top there's nothing, which is kind of interesting because typically the sleep-wake switch has always been at the top, but at the bottom of the device is our 3.5mm headphone jack, lightning charger, speaker, and microphone, and the speaker on this is definitely improved. Now to the back of the device is our 8 megapixel camera, which does protrude from the phone itself. Then we have our dual LED flash. So this is one of the hardest hardware comparisons of all time. So in terms of backings here, we have the iPhone 6 Plus having a just aluminum backing, so obviously you're going to get that metal feel. But for the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, if you want more of a grippy feel, it has that leatherette backing. But they've ditched the stitching, which is well done, Samsung. You're really doing things that are good, and that's not sarcasm at all. Like, I like your design implementations a lot. So you have two sides of the coin. You can either pick a leatherette, more grippy kind of feel, or a little bit more slippery aluminum. But either way, I am super impressed with the hardware on both of these phones. Now for specs on the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, it features a 5.7-inch Super AMOLED Quad HD display with a resolution of 2560 by 1440. And I know that's a mouthful, but it also brings 514 pixels per inch to the table. Now for processing power, it rocks the Snapdragon 805 processor, which is a quad-core chip and clocks in at 2.7 gigahertz. The Adreno 420 GPU, 3 gigabytes of RAM, a 16 megapixel camera with optical image stabilization, a 3220 milliamp hour battery, micro SD expansion, and you have a refined stylus and fingerprint scanner. Now for the iPhone 6 Plus's specifications, it features a 5.5-inch 1920 by 1080p display, yielding a pixels per inch count of 401. It rocks Apple's A8 64-bit processor, which is a dual-core processor clocking in at 1.4 gigahertz. It features the PowerVR GX 6650 for a GPU, 1 gigabyte of RAM, an 8 megapixel camera with a 1/3 inch sensor with optical image stabilization, setting it apart from the iPhone 6. It comes with a 2915 milliamp hour battery. There's no micro SD expansion, but there is a fingerprint scanner and NFC for Apple Pay, and hopefully some other things down the line. So here's where my inner spec head does come out. So if you compare the specifications one by one, you're obviously going to see that the Note 4 has better specifications. That's inevitable. Better battery life, a better processor with better clock speed. I mean, 3 gigs of RAM instead of 1. If you want to go off that, then yes, the Note 4 is probably your best option and is obviously the most powerful one out of this. Now, when you compare the real-world performance, it's a little bit different, and the iPhone 6 Plus can definitely keep up. It looks stunning. I'm not disappointed with either option here, but if you are a spec head like myself, then I think the Note 4 is probably your best bet. Moving to software on the Galaxy Note 4, it features Android 4.4.4 KitKat. For the skin, it features TouchWiz. And some of the design pros on this is it has some nice features. Now, some of the design cons to this is, well, it feels very slow. It looks very blocky, ugly. If you go into the settings, you're going to notice it get real ugly and have like almost 100 options to just do anything. I mean, honestly, I personally am not a fan of TouchWiz at all. Like, I'll come out and say it. If you've been a subscriber to the channel, you know this. TouchWiz is probably my least favorite skin out of just all of the manufacturers. And I'm hoping Android L shows Samsung a new light and that software can be beautiful and not blocky and trying to overdo everything and having every single feature in there. So I'm just not a big fan of TouchWiz for that, but there are some nice features such as S Health and having some really cool stuff you can do with the S Pen. I mean, those features alone are very well designed, but there's a lot of stuff in there that just really isn't, and I'm just not a big fan of. So also with some different features here, you have your fingerprint scanner, which also ties into PayPal, allowing you to just have that be your password. You have some S Pen gestures, which basically you just hold the S Pen down. On the screen, you're going to get a little wheel, and you can select either one of those gestures, and they are pretty cool. And then you have S Health, which tracks your health via the fingerprint scanner if you want to do that, or you can just input what you've eaten for the day, how active you are, etc. Now, honestly, I think Samsung's TouchWiz software is, I'd give it a 2 out of 10. I really don't like it. I like that, there's a powerful phone running it, but I mean, it's blocky, it's ugly, and I'm hoping with Android L we see a major UI overhaul that is, it's so important that Samsung needs to hold an event. That's what I really want software to be on Samsung devices. I love the hardware, I love the specs, but the software experience is definitely lacking. Also, to clear some things up here, I use both an iPhone 6 Plus and a OnePlus One on a daily basis. So it's not like I hate Android or just I'm not a fan of it. I just really don't like what Samsung's doing. I like what Motorola has done, some of the stuff HTC has done. Obviously, the Nexus line of devices is perfect in every single light. I love a vanilla, unadulterated experience. I just really am not a fan of what Samsung has done. And honestly, if we really want to get down to skins and just get nitty gritty with it, I think LG needs to definitely make some improvements. They have some really cool software stuff in there, but I really just would love every single skin to be a Nexus, just a pure, unadulterated vanilla Android experience, and I'd be all set to go. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that I also use an Android device alongside the iPhone 6 Plus. Now for the iPhone 6 Plus here, it runs iOS 8. Now some of the pros is it's a simple, flat user interface, but some of the cons here is there's little options for customization. It's kind of stale and outdated. And honestly, we saw this major UI overhaul last year in iOS 7, and it just feels like iOS 8 was kind of whipped together at the last moment. Oh, here's a few new bells and whistles. Oh, they want some customization, and we'll call that major. Just give them customized keyboards. Yeah, it's cool and all, but don't expect iOS 8 to move mountains like iOS 7 did. iOS 7 was a really big step up, and you're going to still have your toolbar. You can swipe up. You're going to get your tools. You're going to have some other cool stuff like widgets. It's a lot of the same stuff we've seen in iOS 7, but this year it does really tie into Yosemite on the Mac, and we'll do a separate video on that. But iOS 8, while it's very simple and easy to use, it really lacks that customization that Android does have. And for some new features, we have our fingerprint unlock via Touch ID and Apple Pay via NFC, and hopefully Apple allows developers to take charge and just seize the day with NFC, because at the moment right now it's kind of locked down to just Apple Pay. But I'm just really excited because I've used an iPhone since the 3GS, and NFC has always kind of been that afterthought that Apple's really never considered. And now I can throw my wallet away, but I will definitely keep the credit cards and all the stuff I have aside, because I don't want anyone getting that. But just being able to replace my wallet, I really hope NFC does become mainstream and every single store has an option for Apple Pay or just paying via your telephone. For the display on the Note 4, it features a 5.7-inch 2560 by 1440 display with a pixels per inch count of 515. Those features alone, minds are exploding. Honestly, I'm stunned with the quality of the screen on the Note 4. I think the precision and just clarity is spot on here. I'm a big fan. Everything's so bright and vivid, and on a Super AMOLED display, you're going to get colors oversaturated a little bit, and I'm not against that at all, especially with photos. Just picture this, for example. You're taking a photo on a 5.7-inch display. It's a Quad HD display. It looks stunning. Your colors are popping. It's vivid, it's bright, and I just love the display on the Galaxy Note 4. Now for the iPhone 6 Plus, it features a 5.5-inch 1920 by 1080 display with a pixels per inch count of 401. And honestly, this is the highest density pixels per inch we've ever seen on an iPhone. The current iPhone 6 features 326 pixels per inch, the same pixels per inch count we found on the iPhone 5S. And I really notice how much clearer the 6 Plus is over the 6. That's just me. And I love a 5.5-inch display, especially coming from last year's model, which was 4 inches. So bigger is better, size does matter, and I love the screen sizes on both of these guys. But obviously the Quad HD does tout it all for me. I love having those colors pop off the page. But Apple's option is superb as well. Moving on to camera for the Note 4, it's a 16 megapixel shooter. And the quality on here is amazing. There's optical image stabilization. There's a very wide selfie mode because it's a 3.7-inch megapixel front-facing camera. I love the front-facing camera. It is spot on for Snapchat. I'll just tell you that right now. Well, I use Snapchat a lot. It has a 4K video mode on here, also known as Ultra HD, which I find pretty cool as I like to shoot in Ultra HD when it is stabilized. And also for 1080p video or other video modes, not including 4K, it has optical image stabilization, meaning you can shake the phone around a lot and it's definitely going to reduce that in the software. So overall, I mean, Samsung's cameras have always been spot on for me. They can be a little bit oversaturated and sometimes you can get some wacky photos, but I mean, the detail is definitely there, and the sensor on the Samsung Galaxy S5 showed me this, and definitely does not lack on the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. Now for the iPhone 6 Plus, it features an 8-megapixel camera. It is an amazing camera. It has a large 1/3 inch sensor with optical image stabilization, which is new because it's only featured on the 6 Plus and not the iPhone 6. Now if you really want to get funky, it has 240 frames per second slow motion and 60 frames per second 1080p video. I mean, honestly, we are getting the creme de la creme of just cameras on both these phones. I love them both. I love the iPhone 6 Plus. It's my go-to for Instagram. But the detail on the Note 4 is definitely there. And you're getting a nice Quad HD viewfinder, that's definitely getting a plus and a check in my book. So, I mean, honestly, you cannot go wrong with either camera here. And now that you have a big viewfinder on the iPhone 6 Plus, I love both cameras on both of these phones. Moving over to the battery size on the Note 4, it features a 3,220 milliamp hour battery, and on the iPhone 6 Plus is a 2,915 milliamp hour battery. Now, while these are off about 300 milliamps, battery life was very similar for me. I'll just tell you that right now. So I'll just give you guys a little backstory here. My iPhone 5S needed to be charged 3 times a day because I use my devices a lot. Now, with both of these devices, I can easily get a day and a half's worth of hardcore use on both of these devices. For the Note, it's not that new. I mean, I was able to get that on the Note 3. But for the iPhone 6, for the iPhone 6 Plus and the iPhone line, that's really new. And I'm really proud that I can keep both these devices in my pocket, use them as much as I want in the day, still have battery left at the end of the day, which for me is around 9 o'clock. That's when I get home from school, and that's when I conclude my day. I mean, you can't really beat it here. The battery life is fantastic on both. And while these might be considered phablets, battery life is supreme on both. So just wrapping up here, the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 is an excellent phone. This is how a 5.7-inch phone definitely should feel. The software definitely does complement the larger screen, but the user interface does not complement it at all. And I applaud Samsung for having better build quality. Like, where was this 3 years ago? I don't know. But having a metal design, or at least metal edges, honestly, it changed this device for me. I love holding this device. I'm constantly holding this device. I feel myself using this more than I really ever initially predicted when I had this device sent to me. So I love the phone. It's a great phone. You cannot go wrong. And hopefully, and this is just the only gripe I have, that Samsung is going to do something cool with Android L, or whatever they really want to call it, Lemon Meringue Pie, I don't know, and just kind of changes their user interface to more of a plausible option. I mean, I hate TouchWiz. I'll come out and say it right now. I love Android. I use a OnePlus One, so I'm not an Android hater and an Apple fanboy. But I'm saying TouchWiz definitely needs to be improved and just refined to all users that want to use it and you just kind of get that simple experience out of it. Now for the iPhone 6 Plus, it's the biggest iPhone ever. It's a bright, gorgeous display, and I honestly loved the clarity and just how big it was and just how much I was able to get done. And there's some iOS 8 tweaks that allow you to optimize the big display. Reachability is just one of those. Now, some of the applications aren't optimized for the 5.5-inch display, so bear with developers for at least a month. I'm giving them a month to have all their applications just up to date with just sizes, and Apple's really making that easy for developers. But I mean, I love the iPhone 6 Plus. And this is the best camera you can get on a mobile phone. And it's really going head-to-head with the Note 4 and S5 this year. And you really cannot go wrong with either camera. But I loved the iPhone 6 Plus's camera, especially with optical image stabilization. And it's my Instagram go-to phone. And just the last thing here, with the iPhone being 5.5 inches, I was actually able to fit all of my applications on one screen, which is kind of a first for me because I've never been able to do that. So, I mean, I love it just for that, and I love the 5.5-inch size. And it might sound that I'm just favoring more towards Apple, but you need to realize, a year ago we had a 4-inch display, and now we have an 1.5 inches bigger. So just take that into account. Samsung, you know, they have the exact same display size, but they bumped up the specs like crazy, and I love it, especially with build quality. But for Apple here, I'd consider this a really big step, and while it might not be innovative because there are bigger devices out and they were existing before Apple, we had a 4-inch display a year ago, so at least give us some of the credit. So, I mean, software definitely needs to be refined on both the Note 4 and iPhone 6 Plus. And honestly, I can't wait till iOS 9 or whatever Apple calls it, just to see how they optimize the bigger display and what new features can tie into a bigger display. But overall, I'm very impressed with the Galaxy Note 4's Quad HD and just specifications to the brim abilities. And I'm really impressed with Apple for making a bigger phone and finally just getting out of their bubble and expanding to a lot more consumers' desires. For pricing and availability on the Galaxy Note 4, it starts at $299 on a 2-year contract for 32 gigabytes of internal storage. It comes in 4 colors: black, white, gold, and pink. And I love all the colors here, but actually, surprisingly, black was my favorite. And typically I go for the white over the black just with Samsung devices, so I love all the colors. And for pricing and availability on the iPhone 6 Plus, it starts at $299 on a 2-year contract for the 16 gigabyte model. If you want to go up a little bit to the 64 gigabyte model, because Apple did kill the 32 gigabyte model, it'll cost you $399. And if you really want to live on the wild side because there's no micro SD expansion, you can get the 128 gigabyte model for $499 on a 2-year contract, and it's available in the 3 classical colors: white, silver, space gray, and in gold. Thank you guys so much for watching this video where we compared the brand new Samsung Galaxy Note 4 to the brand new iPhone 6 Plus. I really enjoyed my time doing this comparison, and I've been using the Note 4 for just about a week, and I mean, I'm so happy that the Note 4 has been made out of metal. Like, that has made probably half the device for me. Just that and the specifications, I love it. And I'm really happy Apple went up to a bigger display because, I mean, a 4-inch display really wouldn't have cut it this year, like, at all. So if you guys enjoyed this comparison, then go and leave me a big thumbs up, as it really helps the channel out a bunch and lets me know you guys want more iPhone 6 and 6 Plus content, along with the brand new Samsung Galaxy Note 4. And also, while you're at it, drop me a comment down below letting me know what you guys think on the brand new Galaxy Note 4 and iPhone 6 Plus. I'll leave a playlist in the description below of all the stuff we've been doing on the 6 and 6 Plus and on the Galaxy Note 4, which we got a ton of stuff coming for that. Finally, go and subscribe to the channel to be notified when a brand new video does come out, because guys, 2014 is still going. We have a lot more coming. And if you want to go ahead and subscribe, it's free. You'll be notified when a brand new video does come out. Thank you guys once again, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.